Hello, welcome back. I hope you're doing well. This is my fourth video, and in this video I'm going to be ranking watch brands. So I'm going to be ranking pretty much every watch brand that I have an opinion on, in the same style as quite a lot of other YouTubers have done, like Nico Leonard, Adrian Barker, Britt Pierce. They've all done ranking videos, but I felt like it would be a good idea for me to do a similar thing so you guys have an idea of how I view the industry as a whole across each brand, and not just my views on particular watches or news that's been going on recently. So I'll show you here. I've set it up in tier list maker as per usual, and I've got 7 categories ranging from legendary, that's top of the top, would buy, those are brands that I would actually consider buying from, but maybe aren't, quite at the level of being in legendary category. Then we have cool, the watch brands that I still think have some cool aspects that I really like about them, but I actually wouldn't buy from them. Then moving to airs, I don't really have an opinion on them. They're not good nor bad. They're just kind of brands that I know of, and not great. Obviously starting to get a bit worse, bad, really getting a bit shit, and then shite is shite. Don't buy a shite brand watch. So it's in alphabetical, so we'll start obviously with A. Lange & Söhne. So I think A. Lange & Söhne are legendary. Immediate legendary. It's just coincidence you start with legendary, but I really think they're awesome watches and so well finished, just unbelievable watches in themselves. So definitely deserving of being in legendary. So moving on, we have Audemars Piguet. I have some interesting thoughts on AP because I think it's the kind of just the royal oak is a bit worn out in my mind. Like, when you go onto their website and it's five categories, and it's the code 1159, 3 royal oak categories, and the new one they brought out that looks like a whoop. It's a little bit worn out, the royal oak, so they don't really do a whole lot that excites me. And I know AP is crazy brand, and they do all sorts and really have some amazing history, and their craftsmanship is unreal, but I find it's just a little bit limited on what they do that is interesting to me. So I'm gonna put them in cool, but I wouldn't buy one, and I especially wouldn't buy one because at the price range that I would look at AP, that you would look at AP, I would go for something else. I've got a lot of other things that I would go for before I would buy an AP. So I'll put them in cool because they make cool stuff, but I wouldn't consider buying one. And I do think the craftsmanship is unreal, but I think they have to be in cool for now, yeah. So Baltic also cool, very cool in the price range, but I don't think personally I would buy one, and they've got some interesting stuff, but I think I'll leave them in cool for now. Baume & Mercier. So my opinion on Baume & Mercier is that's kind of the brand that is sort of the epitome of the category. I don't really have too much to say about Baume & Mercier. They're a little bit just they don't do anything exciting. They just make their watches get their bottom line, and that's kind of it. So yeah, Bell & Ross. I think Bell & Ross watches are kind of completely disgusting. They look horrible. They're not for me personally, so I'll put them in bad, because I'm not going to put them in shite because they're interesting, but they're not nice to look at. So yeah, I'm going to keep them in bad. Alright, moving on to Blancpain. I like Blancpain. I like Blancpain a lot, but I would buy a blank pan if they knew how to price better, because who is paying 20 grand for a 50 fathoms? I'm sorry, but that is unreal. You're asking two Submariners for 50 fathoms with basically the same watch. Not really a big fan of that, so I'm gonna put that in for now and leave it there, I think. So next up we have Breguet. So this Breguet breaks my heart because I love Breguet. I love its history. Louis Breguet is one of the most important people in the history of watches, if not the most important person in the history of watchmaking. And it's just kind of sad to see how Swatch Group handles them. The people behind Breguet don't really seem like they care too much, and they've done some more interesting stuff recently, but I'd love to own a Breguet one day. But the company just doesn't do that much, nothing much exciting. So I'm gonna put them in as well, but I'd love to one day have them in Legendary. But they would need to do something more exciting. I would probably buy a Breguet second hand, because the watches are amazing, but it's just the company just doesn't seem to care. And maybe it's not the company doesn't care, but I'm pretty sure it is Swatch Group doesn't care. But maybe also Breguet wouldn't exist anymore if Swatch Group wasn't funding it. But yeah, I can't have it anywhere but So next up we have Breitling. I think Breitling make really, really good watches, and I could definitely see myself buying a Breitling, especially in the price range. So I'm gonna put Breitling in would buy, because I think they make really solid watches, especially in the price range. I think Breitling makes some really cool stuff, and I definitely could see myself buying a Breitling. So next up we have Bremont. Bremont is another one that makes me a little bit sad, because they have so... As somebody who's Scottish, it would be nice to be able to stand behind a British watch brand and actually stand behind it. But Bremont just do so little interesting stuff. One of the watches that actually got me, like one of the things that got me into watches in the first place was, I remember I saw the watch in Kingsman where he shoots the like taser out of the watch, and I was like, oh my god, what watch is that? And it was a Bremont. But like, I went on Bremont's website and their watches were just so boring, and it led me to just go to other watch brands. So I should actually be thanking Bremont for technically getting me into watches, but it's just they don't do anything interesting, and they don't seem to care that much. And yeah, so I'm gonna put them in bad as well. Maybe they should be in shite actually. Yeah, I'm gonna have to move them down. Bulgari I don't like. I'm not a big fan of their branding. They seem to have a big emphasis on having the logo and the brand name all over the watch. I remember I was window shopping and I came across a Bulgari that had the brand name on the strap, the brand name on the bezel, the brand name on the dial, and I was just, okay, we get it, it's Bulgari. You know, it's more of a fashion brand, especially with that branding on the strap and everything. I did not like that at all. So I'm gonna put Bulgari in bad as well. Although I do know they did have that the like ultra thin watch, but it's interesting, but I'm not the biggest fan of Bulgari as a whole. So I'll leave them in bad for now. So next up we have Bulova. Bulova, the thing is, I feel like a lot of older people have a Bulova. My grandpa has a Bulova, but nowadays they don't seem to do that much, and they don't seem to really be that interested in doing anything. that I'm going to put them in not great, but it's a shame because my grandfather's old Bulivas are really quite beautiful, but if they don't seem to care that much, then what can you do? Right, next up we have a nice one. Cartier. Cartier, 100% would buy a Cartier. They would probably go in Legendary on a lot of people's lists, but for me, I'll just keep them in would buy, but I really think they are a fantastic watch brand, and I definitely buy a Cartier, 100%. Casio, definitely Legendary. Best watch brand if you don't care about watches, or don't care about watchmaking. If you just want something to tell the time, buy an F91W. Best watch you can get. It will tell the time for quite a while before you have to change the battery, and it'll tell the time well. So it's like 12 quid. So yeah, perfect. Sotina. Sotina are cool. I like them. They use Powermatic movement, and they're slightly cheaper than T-cells. So I do think they're quite cool. I've handled quite a few of them, and they all seemed really quite nice. So check out Sotina if you like. Moving on, we have Chopard. Chopard are... Oh, I would say I would buy Chopard. I really like that LUC line. It's really... They make really, really beautiful watches. Some of them are way out of my price range for whatever, at any point, I think, in my life. But I think I would definitely buy one of the LUCs if I had the opportunity. So I think, yeah, I definitely put them in would buy, because they do have some really amazing watches. Next up, Christopher Ward. Definitely would buy. Again, Christopher Ward, they make fantastic watches, and with really, really interesting movements, but they don't ask really extortionate prices. I mean, like, they do release a lot of stuff, like they're constantly releasing new stuff, but I don't really see that as a problem. I think they definitely enjoy making interesting things at a cheaper price range, and I really do appreciate that, and I definitely would buy one at some point. Chronoswiss. I'm not the biggest fan of Chronoswiss. I'm gonna put them in I know they have a big audience, but I'm just not the biggest fan of the designs, and I also don't like the name. Chronoswiss, I'm not the biggest fan of the name, but yeah, I'm gonna leave them in Citizen. Would buy Citizen. I think Citizen is great. Their eco drive movement, I feel, is top of the line. I have quite a few Citizens. My first ever watch was a Citizen I got for my 17th birthday. That was the watch that fully got me into watches, and Citizen is a really fantastic brand. Honestly, you can get some really nice watches, and they're not extortionate, and they last forever. They are so good. My grandfather, again, he's had his Citizen for 10 years, and it's still running perfectly, and he's never got it checked. So Citizen, fantastic brand, definitely would buy. Credor, legendary. Credor are the master artists of watchmaking. Their watches are they're just unbelievable sights to behold. They are master crafters and 100% legendary, deserving of the legendary category. So next up we have Chapek. Chapek they're okay. I'm not the biggest fan of some of the designs. I'm gonna put them in because personally I just don't really like some of the designs on Chapek, but yeah. So next up we have Doxa. I think Doxa are cool. I like some of them. I'm not sure if I personally would buy one, but I have seen quite a few Doxas that I've actually really liked and thought that they looked really good, but for other people. So personally, I wouldn't opt for a Doxa, but I do think that they are cool, and they're deserving of that category. Next up, we have F. Pigeon. Again, legendary, without a doubt. They are just ultimate. Make ultimate pieces of art. They're just absolute artists when it comes to watchmaking, and without a doubt they're deserving of the legendary category. one day I think I would love to buy an FP Charm, but they're not exactly on my list, but they are definitely deserving of the legendary category. Next up, we have Frank Mille. I'm not the biggest Frank Mille fan, I will say. I'm going to put them in not great because I think the watches are not my style at all. They're a little bit ugly, in my opinion. I really don't like them that much, so I'll leave them in the not great category there. Next up, we have Frederic Constant. So Frederic Constant are cool, definitely deserving of that category in my opinion, because I personally wouldn't buy one. Because for me, a big part of the watch is the movement finishing and the overall finishing, and I don't think Frederic Constant have the best finishing, which is, again, they're working within their budget area of about, they work in about under $2,000. But I also appreciate what they do and the fact that they have a perpetual calendar for I think like 10 grand, which is crazy. But I definitely wouldn't put them in F, but I also don't think I would put them in would buy. So I feel like they're quite well suited to the cool category. But yeah. So next up we have Gerard Perregaux. I'm not the biggest fan of Gerard Perregaux, but I do think they have some really cool watches. So I think they should go in eh. I think that's they're pretty well suited to that category. So yeah, perfect. Next up. Right, so this one might be a bit of a controversial opinion, but I love Glashütte Original. I think Glashütte Original makes some of my favorite watches, so I'm gonna put them in legendary, which again, some people might disagree, but if you disagree, let me know in the comments and we can chat about it. I think the finishing in the price range is unreal, and I would love to one day buy Glashütte Original. I think their watches are just fantastic and honestly amazing. When I went to Glashütte, I saw an exploded view of their Panamatic chronograph and how it was made, and honestly I fell in love with them, and they really make awesome watches, and they're not super up there on a lot of people's lists, but I really like Glashütte Original, and I really would like to get one at some point. Grand Seiko, again, this one I know is a bit so there's a lot of differing opinions in when it comes to Grand Seiko, but I think Grand Seiko are really top, like deserving of the legendary category, and I think their prices can be a little bit above maybe what I would want to pay for them, but I do think they deserve that legendary category because of just how amazing their craftsmanship is, and their dials are just amazing. So definitely deserving of legendary in my opinion. But again, if you disagree, let me know in the comments. Grönefeld are one of my personal favorite brands on the planet. I think their finishing and the movement designs are just unreal, and they're my personal favorite movement designers. My absolute favorite watch of all time is a Grönefeld, so definitely deserving of legendary category, and I would love to buy one day, maybe out with my reach, but never cap yourself. So one day I will definitely get a Grönefeld, and yeah, definitely deserving of legendary. So next up, H. Moser. So I think H. Moser are a fantastic watch brand. They're a really high horology watch brand, but the only problem I have with them is I'm not the biggest fan of their overall design. I don't really like the dials with the very difficult to read logo. It's kind of the opposite of Bulgari, where they've opted for almost no branding on their watches, and the branding is more in the movement. But I think it's a seesaw, because while I don't like Bulgari's over branding, I'm not the biggest fan of H. Moser's under branding, and I think I'd prefer if they moved a wee bit towards a more traditional look, but they're also they're working the way they are. So I think I'll keep H. Moser in cool, because I personally wouldn't buy one, but I do really like their watches, and I really like their tourbillons and everything they do. I think it's really cool. So yeah. Hamilton. Definitely buy Hamilton. The best, 100% the best brand under 1,000. They are just unparalleled, or I think they're only really rivaled by Tissot in that matter, but I still think Hamilton is the best watch brand under 1,000, and you should definitely go and check them out if you haven't. So next up is a big one, Hublot. So Hublot, I have a lot of thoughts about Hublot because they get a lot of hate. And I think the hate for Hublot is a little bit disproportionate to what they deserve. So Hublot, the way Hublot works is obviously a company has their entire budget. And I feel that Hublot is one of the brands on this list that has taken that budget, and then when they've gone to choose where they're allocating their money in marketing and development, they put the majority of their money in marketing to get as many ambassadors as possible, get the name out everywhere, and pay barely anything into development. And whereas it's like the opposite of something like Credor, for example, where Credor, Grunewald have put all of their money into development and marketed to almost no one. Hublot makes their money by marketing and not developing, really. So I do think Hublot's hate is just a little bit overdone, but where I do agree with it is when it comes into the fact that you're paying 15 grand for what is basically a £750 watch is not okay. I mean, the thing is, I would buy a Hublot if it was like 2 grand. I would buy a Hublot and complain about it being overpriced and having a shitty movement. But there's not. It's a 15 grand watch. So I can in good faith put them above bad, because that price range, that pricing is just like next level shit. Like you're paying for shit. And I'd be happy paying for shit at like £1 grand, like if it, because it's only shit, it's relatively shit. You can't, like, I don't feel you can be charging people 15 grand for what is a £1,000 watch. That's shit. But if it was a £1,000 watch being charged at £2,000, then it would become a pretty decent watch in its price range. But it's not. So Hublot is gonna go in the bad category, and yeah. So next up we have Invicta. Immediate shite. Yeah, Invicta shit. Don't buy Invicta. IWC would buy. I would buy an IWC. I feel like they make some really amazing watches, and I do think their watches are a little bit big for my style, but I do see myself buying one. And especially I do like the big crown, and I really like IWC. I think they really make good watches, so definitely would buy for IWC. JLC. So JLC, JLC are the brand that I hold the most admiration for in terms of their history. I love JLC's history. I love it so much. I would love to buy JLC. I love the Reverso, the Polaris. I love the Master Ultra Thins and the Perpetual Calendar. I just think JLC make amazing watches, and I really think they are deserving of the legendary category, especially because of their history. I do think they might want to, if they worked on marketing, they definitely could gain a bit more popularity, but nevertheless, I love JLC, and I really think they're deserving of the legendary bracket. Next up, Longines. Definitely would buy Longines. Best watches, in my opinion, between £1,000 and £2,000. I think Longines are, the Hydro Conquest, in my opinion, is the best watch between £1,000 and £2,000. It is a fantastic watch, and honestly, it's really solid movement, really solid build, perfect watch if you want something similar to the Submariner, but you don't want to pay almost 10 times the price of 5 times the price of a Hydro Conquest. Is about £1,800. So at that price range, the Hydro Conquest, and just all of Longines watches are just phenomenal, and I really think I would buy Longines. So next up, MB&F. I do really like MB&F. I think they've got some cool experimentation pieces, but I don't think I could ever see myself buying one. Mont Blanc. They don't do anything for me. I think Mont Blanc are, yeah, they really don't do anything. Mont Blanc and Boulevard, I think, are pretty solidly in the same rank. I don't really like Mont Blanc that much. And they also sell really expensive pens, so. Moritz Grossman. There's another example of a brand who's spent put all of their money in development and barely any money in marketing. And he's just kind of the opposite of Hublot. I think Moritz Grossman are really awesome. I'm going to put them in cool because when it comes to the Glashütte big brands, I would definitely tend towards A-Lange. But their watches are unbelievably finished. I do definitely think, and I feel like they deserve to be in like legendary because their finishing is unreal. They make amazing watches, but I don't see myself ever buying one. I feel like that's what the cool category is for. All right, okay, moving on. Nomos, legendary. I love Nomos. I think they're a fantastic brand. The next watch I want to get is a Tangenta, maybe a year or two away from that, but the Tangenta is honestly a phenomenal watch, and all of their watches are phenomenal. The Club Campus, everyone, fantastic, and the finishing is just unparalleled in the price bracket. It is honestly amazing. Nomos definitely deserving the legendary. Omega would buy. I'd buy an Omega, but I do think they're starting to think they're in a price range higher than they actually are, because I mean, $9,000, or I think it was $9,000 for a Speedmaster, and the new Planet Ocean being £1,000 more is not really working for me. So yeah, not really working for me with Omega and their pricing, but I do think that I should leave them in the would buy category because I definitely could. One of the watches on my like to buy list is the White Dial Speedmaster, because I really love that watch. When I saw it in person for the first time, I was just like, whoa, and definitely buying that. So I'll keep them in would buy, but they're like a would buy minus. So but yeah, I think they're deserving of that spot. Orient. So Orient, they're okay. I don't really have too much of an opinion on Orient. They're just kind of there and kind of So yeah, they're an Oris. I like Oris. I'm going to put them in would buy because I would buy one of their limited editions. Well, limited editions. I really appreciate their push for sustainability. I think that it really is they're probably the brand that focuses the most on sustainability, and I really like that about them, because not a lot of other brands focus on sustainability like they do, like with their recycled dials and their like Coral Reef limited editions. So I do appreciate Oris and what they do in that regard, and I'll keep them in would buy. Panerai. This is a shame because I like Panerai, but the company doesn't seem to like Panerai. I like Panerai, but the company doesn't, because they don't seem to do anything interesting or really do that much at all. So yeah, they're just gonna have to be in bad for now, but what can you do? Patek Philippe gotta go in legendary. I know their latest releases have not been that anything to really get excited about, but Patek Philippe as a whole, they have made some of the not even some of the, just the most amazing watches throughout history. So I have to give them legendary status because I can't not. They are definitely deserving of being in there, and because they are the kings when it comes to making complicated watches. Well, I'd say Vacheron are the kings when it comes to making complicated watches, but when it comes to making art pieces that a lot of people know about. Patek Philippe is there. So I'll keep them in legendary, and I don't think they deserve to be any lower. Piaget, I don't really have too much of an interest in Piaget. I'm going to put them in E because, yeah. Rado as well, I'm going to put them in E because I like Rado, but I don't like going through their website and seeing like almost every watch being a skeleton dial. I think a skeleton dial is a little bit tacky. So I do think it can be done very tastefully, but when Rado sort of slaps a skeleton dial on almost every single watch, it's not really done very tastefully. But I do like some of their skeleton dial watches, but yeah, I'm gonna keep them in F for now. Richard Mille, I do like Richard Mille, but the only problem I have with Richard Mille is when I think about Richard Mille, I think about this video. I think about this with him like showing off his Richard Milles with his money on his ground and his Lamborghinis, and I don't know. This is kind of what I think about when I think of Richard Mille, and it's just their watches are more about showing off how much money you have and not about actual watchmaking. And I think because the thing is, they are about watchmaking. Like they have some of the coolest engineering in the entire industry. I mean, some of their ceramic watches and just their engineering as a whole is just unbelievable. But in my opinion, in my eyes, it gets pushed down by the fact that the people I see wearing Richard Mille are just people that are wearing it to show off how much money they have, because it's big, it's flashy. When you see a Richard Mille, you know it's not a Richard Mille. You're not mistaking a Richard Mille for a Citizen, you know. It's big and it's chunky, and it's like, I am a Richard Mille. I have spent 400 grand on this watch, and it just doesn't do it for me. So I'm gonna put Richard Mille in because I appreciate the engineering and what they do, but they're quite tasteless. To be blunt about it, they're just kind of show-offy pieces, and it's a shame, because I wish, like, if I had the money, maybe my opinion would be different, because like maybe if I had the money, I'd want to show off, but I don't see myself ever being wanting to buy a Richard Mille to show off the money. Like, I think if I was gonna spend 400 grand on a watch, I'd be spending it on a Patek Philippe, or a Lange. I'd spend it on probably a Lange Tourbillon or something. But I don't know. That's just the way I see it, because I do appreciate the engineering, but the image is just, it can't be ignored. So I'll have to leave it in F for now. So moving on to Rolex, we have the king, basically. I'm gonna put Rolex in Woodbine, because I think the Rolex are the kings. It's just, you can't say anything about them. They just are. I mean, they're an example of the best, like the Hublot mark thing, and and then also putting loads of money into development. They are pretty much the ultimate watch corporation. Not even pretty much, they are. They made last year they made 4 times the amount, or no, sorry, they made more than the next 4 watch brands combined, which is unbelievable. So they are the ultimate watch corporation, and I would buy one. But they don't do that much complicated stuff. They sort of stick to what they do, and none of it's really like mega complications. It's just kind of, you know, whatever's going on. So I'm gonna, like, they just kind of stick to their you know, GMTs, you know, minutes, seconds, hours. They don't do much else than that. I mean, they do have some stuff. I think the most complicated movement, I think, is the Yachtmaster, and or Yachtmaster 2, but yeah, not the biggest fan of the lack of complications, but they definitely are the kings of this entire industry. So I'll put them in would buy, but I'm not gonna put them in legendary. So next up, Seiko. Definitely would buy Seiko. Watch I've got right now, Seiko. Let me show you. Yep, SSK 023. About £300. I know. Really puts me along there. Really puts me in the same bracket as the people buying Richard Milles and allows me to talk about it. But it's just my opinion. So Seiko, yeah, definitely would buy. They make some really fantastic watches. Best watches under £500 in my opinion, and they've got some really solid watches higher than that. But I think if you're gonna buy, if you want to buy a mechanical watch under £500, you buy Seiko. I think that's just the way it is. So next up, Swatch. I'm gonna put Swatch in would buy, but the thing is, I would probably never buy a Swatch for myself because I prefer the more mechanical side of watchmaking and the engineering side. So I love anything mechanical. I don't care if it is like not that complicated or really complicated. But Swatch, they're mostly quartz, but I do think that I would buy a Swatch for someone else. I think that Swatch, they have some really fun watches. I think like their watches are just, they're fun, enjoyable, colorful. So I would definitely buy a Swatch for someone else and recommend Swatch to other people, but I don't feel that I would buy one myself. But yeah, so next up we got Tag Heuer. I'm gonna put Tag Heuer in A because I'm not the biggest fan of some of the stuff that Tag Heuer does. Like I don't like they brought out the F1, they re-released the F1 watch, and it was £2,000 and it was rubber and quartz. I mean, what? It was £2,000 for basically, what is a Casio? So I don't see that being very, like, that doesn't align with what I want, like with how I like to see a brand. So, and the rest of their watches, I mean, some of them are cool. Like I like the Carrera and I like the Monaco, but I think they all use ETA movements, and well, off-the-shelf movements aren't something I particularly dislike. It needs to be then propped up by something I do like about the brand, and I know they are the big F1 brand, but personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Tag Heuer. I don't think they're bad by any means, but I don't think they're above cool. I don't think they're in the cool category or above. I just gonna keep them in and leave them there. So next up, Timex. Would buy a Timex. I think Timex are a really top tier brand. I think for the price they're in, Timex are actually one of the best brands. And about that like price range of around about £100, and you want like a watch you could wear to work or something, Timex is a really good brand and a really solid option. Next up, Tissot. I'm going to put Tissot in would buy as well because I think they're, like I said earlier, they're neck and neck with Hamilton for the best watch brand under 1,000, and I would buy Hamilton. I would buy Tissot. So if you're looking for a watch under £1,000, give Tissot a look. But I do think Hamilton does beat it out as the best watch brand under 1,000. But yeah, definitely still would buy. Next up, Tudor. I think Tudor are the best watch brand, in my opinion, just as a whole. I think for everyone, like for price range, build quality, finishing, everything. Basically, they are like, I know they're not the highest price and they're not the best finishing, but for the amount you get for the price you pay, they are one of the best watch brands, if not the best. Like you're paying $4,000 for just probably one of the most reliable watches you can get, and honestly a really solid pick. They're definitely deserving of being in legendary. Tudor are great and definitely would go and get one if I had the money. Next up, UN. UN are cool. I like the ultra light watch. It was like, well, it's 50 grams. That was really cool, but I wouldn't buy one. I just appreciate the engineering. So cool. Vacheron, legendary. Definitely would buy Vacheron. They're the biggest. They make the best complications in the watch world. I think I love to read about Vacheron. I read about. I just like. I definitely think they're deserving of legendary if I can just sit and read about them for like half an hour. Their watches are just awesome, and like the 52 complications, I think it was, watch is just awesome to read about. So definitely deserving of legendary, and I'll definitely try to go buy one when I can. Zenith, finishing with Zenith. I'm gonna put Zenith in not great because I'm not the biggest fan of the kind of direction they've taken, but it's a shame because I think they have had some cool stuff in the past, and I like looking at some of the vintage Zenith, but nowadays I look through the Zenith like catalog, and it's really expensive for nothing that really interests me all that much, and they have a really cool history, but I'm gonna leave them in not great because they've just not done anything interesting, and it's a bit of a shame because it is a really cool brand. Oh no, I'm actually changing my mind. I'm gonna put it in there. Because they've got the history, they've got some really cool stuff. I don't think it deserves to be below so I'll leave them there. And yeah, I think I'm happy with that tier list. Let me take a quick look over and see if all is good. Yep. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. If you disagree with anything or you want to let me know your thoughts, please don't hesitate to tell me in the comments, and we can chat about it. But thank you very much for watching my 4th video. I know I'm still a bit robotic on the camera, but I'm slowly trying to get better, and yeah, but thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. I'm hoping to get out a video on, I'm starting a series called Simply Complicated, where I'm going to chat about every complication I can think of as simply as possible. I might give a bit of the history, explain what it's like, but I'm still to flesh that out, but I'm going to try and get that out as my next video, the first one. I think I'm going to do it on the coaxial movement, give a bit of the history, explain how it works, what it does, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to doing that, and I hope you'll check it out. But yeah, have an amazing weekend, and I'll see you later. Bye.